What's going on there, folks? Good morning. The Earthmaster here on the live stream with an update video on this February 20th, 2022 date. This Sunday, about 10:38 a.m. California time. Latest quake shows a 4.6 earthquake on the earthquake 3D globe, but we do have an earthquake coming in to the Philippines area currently, measuring a 6.1 right there in the purple circle, showing that earthquake right around the Philippines area, just coming in a short time ago. USGS don't believe the USGS is reporting this earthquake yet. See if these guys are. Nope, nothing showing up yet on the map there from the Philippines. We have been looking at a swarm of movement here in this area, continuous actually, around the Philippines and southward over the last few days or so. So a little bit of buildup going on. Once again, 6.1 magnitude earthquake at looks like about 100 kilometers or so below the surface. Looks pretty rather large quake, but luckily for these folks, it's below the surface, at least a considerable distance there. Let me refresh this, see if these guys are not reporting it. They're still kind of slow, folks, but we'll move on with the update here real quick. Just wanted to get that in. 6.1, of course, the USGS could downgrade it. We'll see what these guys are going to do with the info when it comes into their system. A little bit of activity off the coast of Northern California as well. Seeing some movement out here in the Mendocino Triple Point Junction area. Pretty shallow earthquake movement. We have been seeing a lot of deeper earthquake activity here over the last few weeks or so. Today, some small quakes ranging from 3.1 to 2.1 and 3 to 8 kilometers below the surface here. Southern end of the Cascadia subduction zone. Also some movement up throughout the Pacific Northwest. Not a whole lot going on. Just some activity east, well east of the Cascades here, near Desert Air, Washington. 1.9 and 2.2 earthquake there in the magnitudes, and roughly about 6 kilometers or so below the surface, kind of in the mountain range here. No further movement being noted here on the Mount St. Helens area. Looking at activity in the Pacific here in the Hawaii area, still shows some movement stretching out towards the Loihi Seamount submarine volcano out here. About 35 earthquakes, little uptick in movement over the last 24 hours, specifically at the southeast region here, including a 2.1 within the last hour. So far, let's see what we got for 2.5 and above. There's quite a bit here. Quite a few threes kicking up here as well, including a 3.7 coming in last night right at the southeast region here of the Big Island, and a couple other notable threes in there as well. Somewhat shallow off the Big Island coast, out there around the Loihi Seamount. So kind of watching that pretty closely here. Seeing a pretty good uptick in movement out there in the middle of the Pacific. Nothing coming in yet from the USGS. You're a little slow. What else we got? West Coast. Aside from the movement up here, seeing a little bit of activity inland into the Willits area. It looks like 1.9, pretty shallow. 0.5 for a depth of that earthquake. Very shallow earthquake movement there along the coast range. And low activity up here north of the Chester area, right smack dab at the Mount Lassen volcano. 1.5 at 5.8 kilometers below surface. Going to watch this one pretty closely because this is just a very short distance from me down here in Chico. So yeah, but low earthquake. We do see some movement on occasion there. It's about the only earthquake here within the last 7 days in the Mount Lassen area. Looking down south here, eastern part of Sierra Nevada, at least the northern part here, or the central part, pretty quiet. Not a whole lot going on today once again. Kind of in an eerie, quiet spell for that region. And Ridgecrest area. Seen some further movement with migration down here towards the Garlock fault structure. A couple small earthquakes just off the Garlock zone there in the southern part of the state. Also Bakersfield around the Wheeler Ridge, it looks like, getting in on some activity. This area has seen a little swarm of movement here a couple weeks or so ago, and looks like that's kind of kicking back up there in that region. Southern California on the Pacific side, a trail of movement stretching across Los Angeles, across the coast as well. Most of it's microquake activity, but the majority of it is pretty deep. Looking at quite a few deep earthquakes within this region of Southern California. Nothing significant at the moment, but some deep activity taking place nonetheless in that region of the state. Texas, Oklahoma, all showing a little bit of seismic increase in the area. Still nothing from the USGS. It's crazy. I know these things update by themselves, or at least they should. Nothing. Let's see what else we got here. Oklahoma, moving in north of Stillwater, it looks like. Pawnee, Oklahoma, out there in the, I'm guessing there's some oil operations out here. I don't think I need to zoom in too far to see all these little square boxes. Although this is a farmhouse, it looks like down here, but definitely could be some oil pumping operations out there around the region. You can see these little other square boxes indicating some type of pumping operations in that area of Oklahoma where those quakes are taking place there today. New Madrid zone, pretty quiet. No earthquakes showing up there. Eastern part of the country, quiet as well. Up here into the Canada region, last night had a 2.9 at 16.7 kilometers in the St. Lawrence Seaway, right smack dab in it. So a little bit of activity kicking up there within the last 24 hours there, but nothing significant, just a little uptick. Kind of a bigger uptick is up here in the Aleutian Trench right now. We did see a 5.3, originally a 5.5 come in there along the Aleutian Trench subduction zone, 26.1 kilometers down into it, and some further height and movement up north here outside of Anchorage with a pretty deep 108 kilometer 4.2, and some further activity up and down the state of Alaska. So kind of the big player today in earthquake activity. Let's see, Tonga, New Zealand as well has been seeing a little swarm of movement. I want to show you guys the last 7 days or so in this area. Maybe it's been over 7 days. Let me see here. Okay, yeah, it looks like it's been over 7 days. We did see quite a bit of movement over here along the west side of New Zealand, southward along the plate boundary here. Like I said, over a week or so ago, and most of it in the 4 range, it looks like the activity was, but there was a 5-pointer, it looks like right there. See that little 5-pointer? No major main quake that I can note, but something to watch and keep an eye on here in the New Zealand area. We have seen a swarm of movement up here, deep activity along the Kermadec Trench and the Tonga Trench this past month, and just very limited activity here south of that swarm. So I can't pretty much assume that we're going to be seeing quite a bit of movement here along this area of New Zealand pretty soon. And today could be the start of the day with a 4.6, the latest quake there north of the Christchurch area at 9.4 kilometers for that 4.6. Tonga, Samoa, we got one little earthquake up here, 4.9, and some activity outside of the Solomon Islands. These guys major downgraded that earthquake there to a 5.6 right there. Of course, that was a 6.1 on the EMSC model. We'll see what these guys are reporting, see if they've downgraded or upgraded. No, these guys are staying pretty steady there with a 6.1, it looks like, in the Philippines area. USGS reporting a 5.6. So take your pick, one or the other. Either way, pretty shallow or a pretty deep earthquake, 71.6 kilometers there for that earthquake in the Philippines. Some movement outside of Afghanistan and Iraq in the Middle East. Puerto Rico swarming up there again around the Puerto Rico's trench. Seeing quite a bit of movement here with 28 earthquakes in the vicinity of Puerto Rico and the Puerto Rico trench area. So some of this movement up here into the trench getting pretty deep at 32 kilometers or so into the region there. South America, some activity kicking up here with a 5.1 in Peru and a 4.2 in Chile, 140 kilometers for that earthquake. All right, folks, well, I'm going to jump off here. Not a whole lot going on in Yellowstone. I did check this out last night. There's There's the activity we were talking about last night, which is some type of interference. But it looks as though earlier this morning we've seen a little bit of activity kick up here. Ignore this part right here, this interference. The distinct earthquakes are going to be these ones right here with the red lines, and these smaller blue spiky ones indicating localized earthquake activity there at Yellowstone National Park. Pretty good handful of earthquakes there. Looks like centered over the Yellowstone Lake area. That activity looks like definitely spread out throughout the other seismograph stations here. So those could be some magnitude 2 earthquakes, I believe. I don't believe they're showing up on the USGS map yet. It is the weekend. We'll get to them, right? Always seems to happen on the weekends. Nothing, nada. Zip zero showing up here on the USGS map for the earthquake activity it struck this morning. So we'll keep an eye on it, see if they update it. But a little bit of swarming. All right, folks, gonna jump off here. Have a great day and stay safe out there. Whole lot of craziness going on in the world right now. Best thing to do is just stay inside. I'm not even joking. Close the gate, lock the door, and stay inside. No, we can't do that. That's not a way to live life. Got to be out there enjoying it, right? But either way, sometimes it just feels safer when you're at home and out of the craziness of the world. All right, guys, have a good day. Stay safe out there. We'll chat you another time. Peace out.